For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We begin hour number 3. I am Dave Ross here at Circus Sports in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Our closer, Jensen, who is back home in Cleveland, Ohio. Great having Mike Palm in studio here for the last couple of segments here in hour number 2. Again, programming reminder for the big contest coming up here, Circa Survivor, Circa Millions. Mike's going to be with Derek. They're going to be on with Mitch and Paul later on this afternoon on Follow the Money. My mom just texted me, Jensen, and said, what's the big announcement? Mom, I don't even know. This is sworn secrecy stuff that we do not, we are not privy to. I do not know what it is. You're going to all have to wait and find out like the rest of us here coming up this afternoon. Any idea what you think it might be?
Well, I would have to imagine, we get maybe some tweaks to, the big commercial's the guarantee, right?
What's the guarantee, Derek?
What's the guarantee going to be? Do we have tweaks to Circa Survivor? Do we have additional contests that you could get in? I am here for it. I can't wait. You and I are going to be in certainly on Survivor and also Circa Millions. Are there other things that we get? Maybe we get a comped entry into Circa Survivor. Let's put that out there. How about that?
I like that idea a lot. I will be entering this year for the very first time, so very excited about that. That's for sure. And by the way, for the acting chops of some of our hosts here at the network, how do we gauge, say, a JVT, Tim Murray, Stormy? Obviously killed it a couple of years ago, flying right. Literally, what's the guarantee? Pretty darn good. And then Mike Palm is kind of the security guy. It's pretty good acting that they put into these, right? So just saying, if you haven't seen those commercials, they are fantastic. You got to check out Follow the Money a little bit later on to see what that guarantee will be. But without further ado, let's ask one of the most pertinent questions we ask each and every day. Is it news or a whole lot of noise?
Is it news?
Corleone is a man who insists on hearing bad news immediately.
Or just noise?
Are you going to act like this is news? Just noise. This is noise.
Let's separate the impactful from the insignificant with one simple question. News or noise?
There's a term out there in TV parlance, which is jump the shark, right? For those that don't know the origin stories of that, if you ever watched Happy Days growing up, Fonzie, Arthur Fonzarelli, literally jumped over sharks in an episode. And that's become the term that maybe Happy Days was reaching the end of its glory days and the show had jumped the shark. Now, HBO has announced that the Buffalo Bills will be featured on Hard Knocks. So I ask you, Jensen Lewis, has the show jumped the shark or is this still news?
It's probably still news because I think the good part is that we're now moving on from, the quote-unquote bad teams or the teams that had to finish, bottom of the standings to be eligible. We're getting more of the inside looks at some of the narratives of our star players and our big franchises. They're going to get a new stadium here coming up, and we're getting into the last couple of years here of the old Orchard Park, Hey, maybe we get a Haley Steinfeld cameo there with Josh Allen. We get to peel the curtain back. What's Josh Allen really like? A lot to unpack here, but again, the age-old question is there still a Hard Knocks curse for being featured not only on the training camp, preseason edition, but now that we know that there's multiple Hard Knock seasons because we have the in-season, and Dave, I think you'll have some special viewing interest this year because it's the NFC East on which they'll be featured.
Yeah, that's going to be, for those that don't know now, they started this a couple years ago where they go in season now with certain teams. I think the Dolphins have been featured. Arizona's been featured. They're going to feature 18. The NFC East will be featured this season. Steelers, Ravens, they did the North last year. So they're really giving you more access, which is always a good thing. You do want more access, obviously. I will say this. When I sit down and watch, it's not the same as it was 20 years ago. The novelty of it, the kind of like really seeing, and again, somebody that covered training camps for decades, I kind of knew what was already going on. But for everybody else to really see what's going on, it is still interesting to me. But you kind of get the feel now of what it is. Do you like the in-season adaptation to it? Because it's very different, obviously, from what you see in training camps, right? You're cutting down rosters. Those storylines are built in. You know, what guy's going to make the squad? Who's going to get cut? That's always dramatic. We know that. But in season, man, this is your roster. Now, barring injuries, that sort of thing. We saw it with the Dolphins certainly a couple of years ago. Do you like the adaptation to add the in-season version of this?
Certainly. I mean, as a Browns fan, it was great seeing the AFC North last year, and as competitive as it was, I'm sure Danny Higgins will also agree with us that you're getting to see those head coaches week in and week out, how they would adjust, how they talk to their teams, what's the focus. I think that's a unique part of it, and I'm thrilled as a former athlete to see how those guys go through their work weeks and the day in and day out. The only other part of this that we need to know, has Gil Alexander and Liv Schreiber been seen in the same room? Because, you know, hey, that's one of the great parts I get, at least through the first couple episodes, is hearing the narrator of our time, Liv Schreiber, talk about those instances and those events transpiring from Hard Knocks.
Yeah, and then he was actually, I think Liv actually made a cameo on Hard Knocks a couple years ago.
Jets Camp.
Right,
yeah.
for Jets Camp.
Jets Camp.
So that was kind of, you really unveiled behind the curtain there, that great voice that we have to narrate it. So yeah, you're right. I might not be as excited as I was 20 years ago about Hard Knocks, but there still is something to glean from it. And it'll be interesting for Sean McDermott this year and Josh Allen, as you mentioned. And they are, and we can understand why, one of the short favorites here to not only get to the Super Bowl, but to potentially win it this year. That MVP pressure that comes with it with Josh Allen, I'm sure he's going to be just fine with it. But how do you look at the Bills overall here when we kind of to forecast? Because I look at their schedule. Jensen, we broke it down a couple days ago here on the show. It looks very manageable if you're looking for Bills futures here. Again, injuries are the one thing that you just cannot forecast. Every team's going to have them, but where do you get them? God forbid you get him a quarterback. That's the one thing you just can't. You cannot. If you're betting over 11.5 on a Bills win total, right, and anything happens, it's juiced to the over at $1.60, Jensen. But again, the schedule says, you know, week one might be one of their toughest tests, hosting the Ravens in a revenge game. You know, the Ravens have been waiting for that one a long time. That, man, I don't want to lay $1.60 for a 12-win team, but they did win 13 a year ago, and nobody thought they'd win 13.
Then right now, DraftKings alternate over 13.5 is plus 270. So that to me would be one that you look at. They're plus 350 to have the most wins. And so again, just spitballing here, do you think 15 would be the number to have most wins? And the reason I bring that up is because when you look at the other alternate over win total that's offered for Buffalo is over 15.5 at 11-1. So you almost feel, and I get it, that means you got to go 16-1 here. But is 15 the number that you would think, or is it 14, which it's better off playing, you know, that most regular season win market instead of just the plus 270 for the Bills by themselves? I
mean, we didn't see the Vikings coming last year. I don't know that there's going to be a team like the Vikings where you go through the majority of the year and you have, 1-2 losses, and you know, is there going to be another Vikings this year? Because we can see it with the Bills. We could see this coming potentially if they're a 15-win team. I don't think people would be shocked by it. But even the Chiefs, as great as the Chiefs are, to win in which the manner in which they did, not covering numbers for the most part last year, but winning those games in the regular season, I just wonder if there's a surprise out there. There always is, but to that degree, a Vikings surprise, I don't know that I see that. I do think that the good are going to be very good. It does feel a little bit top-heavy. There's going to be one or two surprises that we don't see yet. But I do think for the most part, we have a pretty good idea, at least in the AFC, that the elite teams are still going to be the elites. And I'm talking about Baltimore. I'm talking about, obviously, Kansas City being back there and the Buffalo Bills. NFC, it might be a little bit more wide open, Jensen. Yeah, the Eagles are still going to be really good, but the Commanders are coming. We'll see how the Cowboys look this year. Detroit feels like, and I was looking at this earlier, they're plus money to win the division, Detroit, in the North, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the odds market is telling you that division could beat each other up a little bit more, and we might not get that super team from the NFC. Potentially could get it in the AFC.
Okay, then would you rather, and just on DraftKings, have the 1 seeds up here? You're looking for a surprise team. Could I interest you in the Broncos at 11-1 to be the 1 seed in the AFC? And I'm going to throw the caveat in here because they're the 4th betting choice. You got to go way down to plus 475 for the Chiefs, plus 260 for the Ravens, plus 195 for the Bills for the 1 seed in the AFC. So you have Broncos 11-1, Chargers 13-1, who I think you and I have agreed that they've got a chance to take the next step. Will they? Remains to be seen. Bengals at 13-1, rough schedule. What does the defense look like under Al Golden? Just trying to look for a Minnesota Vikings-esque. What team do we envision could be, a double digit to get a 1 seed right now in either The only other one I'd throw out to you in the NFC, this is a moonshot. Either the Bears or the Cardinals are 20-1, 22-1. I don't even think in your right mind you could envision that happening. But the Rams are plus 950. That's another team from a coaching standpoint in that division. You're looking for a 1 seed that's a longer shot. Maybe those are teams you look at.
Bears 20-1 to get that 1 seed. If Ben Johnson is everything they're paying him to be in the Windy City, could that be the Vikings of this year? That would be a pretty fascinating story if it happened. We're going to break down the Packers and the Dolphins when we come back next year in the very next segment to talk about their win total propositions for this year. But again, if you are not a VSiN Pro subscriber as of yet, VSiN.com/subscribe. It's only $199. That's for 14 months. So you're getting 2 extra months free by using the promo code PRO. So you can get those daily best bets emailed to you directly. Exclusive betting splits, the VSiN Watch app access, and yes, that all-important NFL betting guide will be yours as well. Before you make those wagers, make sure you are a VSiN Pro subscriber by going to VSiN.com/subscribe.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We continue our breakdown of every NFL team here now that all the schedules have been released last week. And we do our due diligence, really try to break down and find actual ways for you to play things here in May if you want to get involved now that all the books have these posted. I'll be curious to see where the numbers go as the summer goes. But let's begin with a team that might be a little bit dejected today. They did not get the ban the tush push. The Green Bay Packers proposal gets shot down yesterday by the competition committee. The tush push will continue. They will play, by the way. Green Bay and Philadelphia will be on the schedule. That's a Monday night football game in week number 10. Their win total is now sitting at, for the Pack, at 9.5, due slightly to the over minus $1.20. Even money if you want to play the under. Remember, this was an 11-win team a year ago. And Jensen, they really only lost to the elite. They were really good, and they beat up the teams they should have beaten up on, and they struggled with some of the bigger boys out there, and certainly some of the marquee matchups. Where do you look at the Packers going into 2025?
Well, first of all, boy, what a start to their year. Lions and Commanders, and especially the quick turnaround between the Lions and that Thursday night football game. Wild. All right. Wild start. So, again, Survivor hat on. You know, you don't like to take teams on the road, but you should go to Cleveland and beat the Browns, right? Now, is that a look-ahead spot for the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football in Dallas? They get a really early bye, and then the Bengals. I'm sorry, but that's a hell of a start.
It is.
For 6 weeks. Whoa. Okay, so now we try and look at an opportunity to leverage here. You have your primetime games, week 4, week 8 against the Steelers, both of those games on the road, and then the week 10 game against Philly. I don't think we play any of these from a Survivor standpoint, but right. I wouldn't mind getting the points. You got to believe the Cowboys short home favorite, right? Sunday night. You believe the Steelers, depending on the quarterback situation, would be a home favorite, maybe. And then the Eagles would probably be, that might be a pick 'em, depending on what Monday Night Football looks like.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't have anything that jumps off the page from just the Survivor hat outside of if you want to take a shot in a road team early and if you want to burn them, just knowing that your only other opportunities to really use them, at least right now,
week 9
would be home against Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah.
Week 9 is exactly where I'd look. In the Survivor, if this is what you're playing, trying to navigate for you here, that feels like the first spot that you would feel confident in going after at home against the Panthers. We don't know what they're going to look like. The Panthers, sure. Some people in the network really like them as a surprise team this year. I can understand that if Bryce Young in year number 3, year number 2 for the new head coach, if things look better down there in Carolina. But to me, you got to take shots, and that feels like a leverage play to play them at home week 9 against Carolina. Because I look at that schedule, I'm with you. Look at the Thanksgiving Day game, week 13. Now, they went in there to Detroit a couple years ago and beat them. That week 4 game you mentioned against the Cowboys on Sunday night, Cowboy fans are still reeling from that wild card loss where they put up, I think, 80 points. And I think they just scored again in that one. I mean, it was an amazing first half by the Packers and that dismantling at Jerry World, right? And then look at the back end of that schedule. Oof. You look at the column, if you're watching at VSiN.com, week 13 at Detroit, 14, you host the Bears, interdivision. That could be for a lot of things at stake there. Then you go to Denver. Then you go back to the Bears on a short week on a Saturday before hosting the Ravens and then go on the road to Minnesota to wrap it all up. You want to play the over, go ahead. But that last column in those final 6 games, Jensen, you go 3-3, I think you've done pretty well.
All right, so we go back to the alternate win total markets here. Do we envision a scenario in which you could play an under because of the division, because of that schedule? I mean, the back third of the schedule, let's assume the Lions are good, the Bears are good, the Broncos are good, the Ravens and the Vikings are good. I mean, you have got 4 road games, to finish. And really in scenarios too, where you get the Dome on Thanksgiving, you're going to be in Mile High potentially with snow and precipitation and cold temperatures. Week 15, you got to go to Chicago for Saturday night, so slightly shorter week.
Ooh.
And then you get, the Ravens at home, which we believe is probably going to be a cold one, week 17. And then you're in the Dome to finish. And who knows if that's a win and in scenario, for the Packers in week 18. Dave, this might be a team you have to stand off just from a Survivor perspective, but even from a spread perspective, you don't envision really a large window for them in covering spots, even on those initial road games. I mean, they're going to be a road favorite at Cleveland, and then we're anticipating a short road dog against the Cowboys on Sunday night. They're going to be probably a slight favorite against the Bengals after the bye. But hey, man, I mean, the start and the end of their season is absolutely brutal.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want any part of that over, and certainly not at the juice at minus $1.20 right now for 9.5 wins. So I'm picking up what you're putting down there. One of the lasting memories of Thanksgiving from a year ago was when the Packers hosted the Dolphins and how cold Mike McDaniel. Remember, Mike McDaniel looks so cold, and the players look cold, and it was just awful. I don't know what it's going to look like this year for the Fighting Fish down there in South Beach. But look at their win total. Talk about some juice. It's juice to the under at 8.5, minus $1.60. Oh, man. I think there were visions of grandeur a couple years ago when they were on Hard Knocks, and everybody thought, this team, this is the new breed in the AFC East. We got a new head coach, the way he thinks of things. We got Tua, and we got the Cheetah, and they can't stop us, and we got the Penguin, and all. I don't know, Jensen. I'm looking at this Dolphins team now, and while the schedule, because the division doesn't look that tough, and the schedule overall doesn't look that difficult, I just don't know if I trust the Dolphins, first and foremost, before I look at how, quote-unquote, easy the schedule might look.
Well, now, all of a sudden, week one, heavy hearts, obviously, for Colts Nation and everyone. That's going to be an emotionally charged football team and in an environment there at Lucas Oil Stadium that will want to win that one for Jim Irsay, no question about it. The divisional game at home against the Patriots, this has always been a scheduling spot from the heat and the humidity where you may look in the second half there and trend towards the Dolphins, depending on what that score might be at halftime. The same can be said, even though it is a Monday night game and you look to week 4, it's a divisional game. I know you hate to do it, but again, Dave, you're going to have to take some shots on some teams that you may not envision being playable later in the year. And I say that because we know when Miami goes north that they've been god-awful. So, you're not looking at them at week 18 of the Patriots. You're certainly not looking at them week 15 at the Steelers or even week 14 in New York against the Jets. So, there's another scheduling spot where you may have to take a shot on them at week 7 when they go to Cleveland to take on the Browns. That might be your only and who knows if Joe Flacco is still the quarterback, and let's assume he is. Maybe that's a Shedeur Sanders spot. And you go up against a rookie quarterback. Think about that dynamic too when you're looking at opponents going against the Browns. When does that quarterback change happen? Sure. And if it does, is that the time to pounce on whoever their opponent might be?
I mean, if you really have the patience of Job, maybe you can wait till week 13 when they host the Saints. I mean, really, right? You got to really wait in Survivor to potentially play that home game in South Beach later in the year. We'll see what the Saints. Remember, Saints at that point could really all be in for Arch Manning, unless Arch Manning goes back to Texas for another year. But at that point of the season, they might be thinking number 1 pick in the draft at that point. I know the players don't think about that. The coaching staff, Kellen Moore, doesn't think about that. But the front office might a little bit start to look at that way. So if you really want to wait, maybe you go to week 13. And Jensen, just a year ago, the Dolphins were 2-1 to win the division. And now, with the steps back that they've taken, I don't want to say it's a lost cause there, but you might be looking at a coaching change after this year if things don't go well down there in South Beach. So a lot of tentacles there with Miami, with Tyreek Hill. Did he want out? Is he going to be back? Is he disgruntled? All those things. So could be a really interesting year there in Miami this year for sure. The betting splits, if you haven't checked them out, you can have the same information that we have each and every day when you become a VSiN Pro subscriber. So you can get started today, VSiN.com/subscribe. It's as little as $9.99 for your very first month. So you're going to get access to those, not just here at Circa behind me, but also with DraftKings out there, 2 of the more respected voices in the game here when it comes to the betting splits. So check it out today, VSiN.com/subscribe. All right, when we come back, Jensen, I want to take a look a little bit what's going on in the world of golf because that tournament is underway, the Charles Schwab in Texas. And by the way, yesterday on the show, Oakmont is not in Texas. It's also in Pennsylvania. Misspoke on that. So it's not going to be Scotty another home game for the U.S. Open when they get there next month. But it is a home game for Scotty Scheffler today. We'll break that down. Plus, let's get to what we're going to have in the night on ice and certainly in the NBA as well. So we got a lot more to get to and our best bets before the end of the show. Come on back. It is VSiN by the Books.
VSiN by the Books, right here on VSiN.
We continue VSiN by the Books here. Dave Ross alongside Jensen Lewis, and we appreciate everybody who reaches out to us on social media. If you're listening on Sirius Channel XM 158, we appreciate you as well. JD in Florida sent us a little tweet today and said, how about this? Hard Rock down here in Florida, where JD is hanging a 3.5 run line on the Phillies and the Rocks today. And you can get plus $1.05 if you want to lay 3.5 runs with the Phillies. In Colorado, you can lay a little bit of juice. Take the runs, 3.5 with Colorado, minus $1.30. Jensen, we're to that point with the Rocks that we're double dog daring you to take 3.5 runs as the home team as well. I mean, this is kind of crazy.
So you can get a better price if you want it on DraftKings. I know you can't do that in Florida. DraftKings offering the plus 3.5 on the Rockies at minus $1.24. Minus $1.24. The Rockies plus 3.5. People
minus $1.24.
If you want to go with the, if you want to go with the standard, I'll tell you what. You know what's funny? If you think the Rockies win by 2 or more today, 4-1.
If you think the Rockies win by 2 or more, you get 4-1.
2 or more.
That's our reverse puck line. In hockey, we're doing the reverse run line. It's insane. I don't know if I'd want to go that far, but I think if you made me play it, Jensen, I'm not playing it. If you made me play it, wouldn't you have to, on principle, take the 3.5 runs and lay the $1.24?
Well, you could even get plus 2.5 at plus $1.15 if you wanted the Rockies.
It just feels like the books are double dog daring you to any way you can take the Rockies, an 8-win team here as we get toward the endish of May. Rather fascinating. We'll get to our best bets here in the next segment as well. But I do want to talk a little bit more about the T-Wolves and OKC tonight. This is game number 2, obviously, in the Western Conference Finals. We saw what OKC did in the second half of game 1, Jensen, and it wasn't pretty. And my worry for the T-Wolves coming in is how are they going to score against this defense? Like, we are looking at right now one of the best pressure defensive teams that we've seen. Like, Indiana's pressure against the Knicks is all offense, right? It's an offensive pressure. What OKC does is they turn you over with their defensive pressure, and that leads to their easy bucket. So even if OKC doesn't shoot it that well, they're going to count on their turnovers to turn you over and get those easy buckets. Is it as simple as Minnesota, if they can clean it up in their end and, get over in a timely fashion so they're not up against the time clock, even if they have not turned it over, to be able to get good shots? That's the thing. That pressure defense, if they don't turn you over, sometimes you got that short clock to try to get a good look at the rim.
So I had just jumped on the T-Wolves plus 260 yesterday, I believe, before the show. I think it is down to 240 on Circa. But I think, again, this is kind of that situation in which Anthony Edwards will do whatever he has to do to be healthy enough with that ankle issue to get in and be able to will his team to victory. Now, all that being said, Dave, I think the supporting cast has to be better. And knowing that those shots, when they have an advantage, like the way that Indiana started yesterday is what I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the Timberwolves can do tonight. The other aspect of this is that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going to get his MVP trophy, and what that environment will look like will be fascinating to see in its own right. Will Shai try and, hey, I'm the MVP, I'm going to come out and do my thing? I still think that Naz Reid, open shots. I know Mitch was talking about it yesterday on Follow the Money. The amount of open shots that Naz Reid could not knock down, I don't think that happens yet again. I think he finally gets some of those to fall. Julius Randle, by contrast, was so hot from distance to start in game 1. Does that come back around here? But ultimately, let's be honest here. David, if Anthony Edwards doesn't score 25 or more, the T-Wolves are in deep trouble tonight.
Yeah, and I wonder if they look for more offense, early offense, so they're not up against those situations I was just referencing here. That total sitting at 215. They try to get into the flow earlier, so they're not up against the shot clock here and or turning it over. So I'll be curious if they can muster more offense, because we know how OKC gets theirs, and certainly SGA, as you mentioned, getting that MVP tonight should be emotional there as well. We're going to have game 2 here for the Knicks and the Pacers, and again, this is going to be tomorrow night back in Madison Square Garden. That atmosphere is going to be interesting, because I don't want to say it's going to feel like a funeral. They got to figure out a way now. All that emotion, they've locked up game 1. Knicks are, 3 wins away from going to the finals, and now they're up against it. They're actually the betting underdog in the series now. And look at that money line price for Indiana, plus 205. Look at the spread. It's actually bigger than it was in game one. It's up to 5.5. I'm surprised by that. Total, by the way, has been auto-corrected now up to 227. Again, highest scoring game in an Eastern Conference final in the history of the NBA occurred last night between the Pacers and the Knicks. Do you see that adjustment there? And the total makes sense, but what about the side? Does that make sense to you?
How about this? So 64% of the bets, 44% of the handle on Pacers plus 5.5. So actually, it feels like the sharp side at the moment might be the Knicks at 5.5 here. Pretty even on the money line bets. Just for comparative purposes here, Dave, money line price on the Pacers down to plus $1.85. So you're getting a better shot there if you think the Pacers go up 2-0 right now. If you want to lock that in at circa plus 205. So I think that's fascinating to kind of look at right now with the bets being about even, a bit more of the money on the Knicks on the money line price there. And again, you got to lay 225. But that is intriguing to think that an additional point. I think the most fascinating part of game one outside of the comeback is how many. I mean, it was a track meet in the first half.
Yeah,
that under had no chance whatsoever. With both teams nearly scoring 70 apiece in that first half.
Yeah, I looked up at the 6-minute mark of the first quarter, and it was 20-16 Indiana. I went, I'm feeling pretty good about having that 221 in pocket. Felt you could see the pace of play, and I'm like, all right, everything's looking pretty good. We'll get to our hockey selections here in our best bets because I know you do have a play in Game 2 tonight between the Hurricanes and the Panthers, so we'll get to that in the next segment. But right now, the Charles Schwab is going on deep in the heart of Texas, and Scotty Scheffler will not tee off here for a good little bit. He's obviously the betting favorite at plus 250. You got to lay $1.65 right now for Scotty to be a top 5. You got to lay $3.40 for Scotty to be in the top 10. So it is about the Scotty Scheffler Invitational. A little bit shorter here. You're seeing a 240. I'm seeing little 250s. Tommy Fleetwood has in the live market has moved up now from 25-1 to 18-1 to win this as the second betting choice. Daniel Berger has not teed off yet. He's 22-1 before he tees. Now Tommy Fleetwood is, you know where I stand on British Jesus. Love the look, love the guy. Seems like a great guy. He's never won on American soil. I can't get there with Tommy. He's 1 under, by the way, early on in his round. And right now, those rabbits that we talk about, we got Rio Hitsatsune, Patrick Rogers, and Emilio Grillo. Those guys are all 2 under par right now through early on in their round. 6 holes for Rogers. Hitsatsune is 5 holes, and Grillo is 2 holes in so far. So right now, 1 under par here for Tommy. Can you get there with Fleetwood, or is this more of a placement market thing potentially?
I don't think I can get there, considering what happened before we've done. Is it the rule of 3 strikes and you're out? I don't know. Even when we get back to the majors, like how do we handicap that just in of its own right? The Scotty one I mentioned, and we talked with Wes Reynolds yesterday about it. He is so motivated to win this, but also throwing that back out to people. If you want to parlay that, like let's say you believe the Knicks, even up this series, or you want to take the points or alternate lines here with the T-Wolves tonight. Good way to kind of, elevate your odds a little bit to be able to find that. Again, the only way I play Tommy Fleetwood, I should say, is top 10 at the plus money, I think. We'll go back to Aaron Rye, who was a guy that Wes was high on from yesterday, is also on his card. Top 5 and top 10 markets are really good. I look at Brian Harmon at a top 5 market. And then Keith Mitchell would be a dark horse. Kashmir Keith, 50-1, I think you can get on him right now. Patrick Rogers, almost 10-1, I think you can get at, plus 900, I believe. Those would be kind of the ones that jump out to me right now.
Only thing I'll say is if you want to go after Scotty Scheffler, I think today would be the day to get him because it is still right on the heels of the PGA. You can look at first-round matchups. At DraftKings right now, Scotty Scheffler is over a $3 betting favorite against Davis Riley. Now, again, you can find different books that are going to have different matchups. Davis Riley finished T2 last week at the PGA. So his form is really good. So if you wanted to take a shot, I wouldn't get mad at you if you played Davis Riley plus 240 in a first-round matchup for Scotty. I don't think it's imperative that Scotty goes out there and shoots 6 under, and potentially we'll see what that number looks like. But he might ease into it as he did last week, as he does a lot of weeks. So maybe a Davis Riley look at plus 240, not the worst way if you want to, if you're brave enough to go up against the behemoth that is Scotty Scheffler. When we come back, J. Lou, let's get to our best bets. They are next right here, VSiN by the Books.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tuned in to VSiN by the Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN by the Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis. We're going to get to our best bets in here in just a second, but there is real breaking news that we have to discuss. It's in college football, and you saw it here from Blue Verified Checkmark here, Ross Dellinger, reporting that the college football executives, Jensen, are scheduling a call for today where many of them expect to adopt a straight seeding model for the 2025 playoff that would feature a financial compromise. This is according to Yahoo Sports and their sources. Jensen, you can go a little bit deeper on that and what that looks like here and what that exactly means. But I think after year one of what we saw in the 18 playoff system, this is their course correction in year number two.
Yeah, it says Ross Dellinger reporting here, current 12-team format designates the top four seeds to the four best conference champs. A straight seeding model would see the teams by the committee's rankings, and the financial compromise, these are just the details, distributes the same revenue, which is $8 million to the four champions, even if they are not inside the top four. So revisionist history would tell us then, Dave, as I bring this up, I think people will make an homage to, where the BLBCS was,
yes,
ranking that. And again, I know the final rank, if we go to the end of the regular season rankings from last year. So the straight seeding as far as the college football playoff rankings go, Oregon, Georgia, Texas, Penn State, your top four. Notre Dame at 5, Ohio State 6, Tennessee 7, Indiana 8. Boise State 9, SMU 10, Alabama 11, Arizona State would be 12th. Now, here's the rub. The difference would be the actual seeding of how they did it in the current model. Oregon, your 1 seed, Georgia, your 2. Boise State, remember, was the 3 as the Mountain West champion. Arizona State was the 4 as the Big 12. So, very intrigued to see where this goes. So, your first-round matchups, if it were the straight seeding, this is what it would have been. Notre Dame hosting Arizona State, Ohio State hosting Alabama, Tennessee hosting SMU, Indiana hosting Boise State.
And so, look, they tried to help out the little guy with what we saw last year. I think people said, all right, the help is that they're in, that they have a pathway to get in. That's enough of the help. Now let's go ahead and let's play some big boy football here. And again, the tricky part will be the committee's rankings. Right? The rankings now are going to be all important. So you want drama at the end of the year to come out of a boardroom with guys talking about it, you're going to get it at the end of the year here in college football season when those rankings and they come out. And that will be 1 to 12, the way this is going to be done in year 2 of the new expanded playoffs. So they're trying to get it right. They're tinkering. Not mad at them for that. Let's see if they get it right or closer to it this year, because I do think people felt like, all right, last year, we understand what you're trying to do, but it didn't exactly work out. Let's get to our best bets. They are presented by G-Bank, the official bank here of VSiN. And let's start with the night on ice. And I know you have a couple plays here, one in particular in Game 2 here. Carolina, it didn't look good in Game 1 against Florida. So now Florida has a chance to take a commanding 2-0 lead on enemy ice. Right now on the money line, they are plus $1.15 to get that done. You look at the puck line here. If you want to play Carolina, you can get 2-1 that they win by 2 or more goals. On the money line straight up, it's $1.28 for the Carolina side. That total is juiced to the under. It went well over in game 1, 5.5. Maybe more defense is what Carolina would need here. So that under right now, minus $1.25 juice to it. What do you make of game 2 tonight? What do you already have in pocket?
Well, again, the Carolina Hurricanes are going to have to overcome some of their own dubious history here. They're 0-13 in their last 13 conference final games. And remember Jonathan Davis telling us yesterday, and it bears repeating, Florida's 9-1 overall when they win game 1 of a best of 7, including 6-0 in those series when starting out on the road. So as it pertains to game 2, I went, this is straight data play for me, just where the money is and where the bets are. I went back to Carolina, and I took them on the puck line at plus 200. If they don't get it tonight, this could be a sweep. I mean, you just don't understand, how much of a game 7 feel this is going to feel like for Carolina. They have been told probably all day yesterday and heading into today, hey, you're 0-13 in your last 13 conference final games. And so they're probably fed up with it. In that game 1, there's probably a level of embarrassment of what happened with Florida coming in, having played the 7-game series and putting up 5 in the fashion that they did. So I'll go down swinging again, Dave. I'm a sucker for a puck line. I'll take Carolina plus 200 here, and hopefully they even up this series.
You cashed a nice one last night. I know it looked sweaty at down 3-1 with Dallas after 2, but they come back with 5 goals unanswered in the third. So you cashed that big ticket last night. I like the way you've been kind of staying with that formula here throughout the Stanley Cup Finals. You do have a ticket. On the Timberwolves tonight, Anthony Edwards is going to be able to go. You've got them plus 260 at the Thunder tonight. It really has to be about Anthony Edwards, right? You want to be the guy. And by the way, you've got a good number in pocket. It's already down to plus 240, and that total sitting there at 7.5. The spread sitting at 7.5. The total here is at 216. You do think they're live tonight to even up this series? That would be a shock, I think, to a lot of people out there.
No, I agree. Yeah, and they're down to plus 235 on DraftKings, so a little bit of a line movement in our favor here right now. But 43% of the bets, 72% of the handle. So at least from following the money, we're in a good spot there. Now we just got to get it home. And I'll go back to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to get his MVP award tonight in person. Anthony Edwards needs to be the MVP, at least for the game, to be able to get this team back home with a series split. Again, you look at both teams that need to win. Timberwolves tonight, Knicks tomorrow. I mean, Dave, if you're hitching your wagon to it, right now, if you want both those teams just on the money line parlay to be able to get there, you've got a nice little payout of plus 383 if you think the Knicks even it up and the Timberwolves even it up. However, if you think the T-Wolves as the dog get it done tonight and the Pacers go up 2-0, can I interest you on plus 854 for the T-Wolves and the Pacers to win tonight and tomorrow?
I like those big numbers, that's for sure. I wanted to get to one game in baseball that you have. What's happened to the Padres, to our fathers north of the border against the Blue 14-0 yesterday? Holy mackerel. Well, is that easier, Jensen, to wipe that one away and turn the page when you lose like that instead of a 2-1 close one?
Yeah, well, yeah, and it was that's the thing, David. It was close. It was 1-0, 3-0. Machado makes 3 errors in 1 inning, and it balloons out of control. And the Argonauts kick the extra point there and win it 14-0. Again, this is just the experience side of me. You get embarrassed the way you did yesterday. You come out and Mike Schiltz got enough, in him to be like, "Hey boys, enough's enough. You've been shut out the last couple of games. You have looked kind of dreadful in the field. It's time for the pride to show up here. So a little early lead would be great to see the Padres get it. So I'll take a shot on them on the run line plus $1.30 to win by 2 or more.
We had Greg Peterson on in hour number 1. He likes to fade pitchers coming off the injured list. George Kirby is one of those guys today for Seattle. They begin a new series against Lance McCullers Jr. and the Astros here. Right now, the Mariners are favored at $1.35 here. Come back at McCullers, and he's coming off injuries of his own, but he's been back a little bit sooner. Plus $1.14. What do you make of that angle with guys coming off the injured list? Because Kirby's not going to have a long leash tonight.
Yeah, I always like to look at whether you want to play the under on the strikeouts or the under on the outs recorded, and just kind of looking at from a data standpoint. Seattle is actually kind of the dog on as far as the run line is, but I would love to see this offense actually get moving. And the Astros kind of embarrassed here in this series they just completed against the Rays. Hunter Brown, we were on for the strikeouts yesterday. Something we're going to factor as we move forward, and we talked about park conditions in Sacramento. Yesterday, perfect example of making sure you get real-time data on what the conditions, especially blowing out the humidity.
Yeah.
Ball is traveling left, right, center yesterday at George Steinbrenner Field. So something that we will certainly factor in when we look at those Tampa Bay Rays home games moving forward.
One other game in trend, I know Greg's on it and you're looking at it and talked about it in the Daily Diamond, the unders in the Pirates game. They're going to be hosting the Brewers today. Mike Burrow's on the bump here for the Pirates. That total is sitting at 9 and is juiced to the under at $1.15. This is a historic run for lack of runs that we're seeing from the Buccos these days.
Yep, 26 consecutive games that Pittsburgh has scored 4 or fewer. I do think it gets across today. Bryce Terang been swinging the bat really well for the Milwaukee Brewers, so we did a little parlay for Daily Diamond. Team total under for the Pirates at 4.5. You want to play it by itself, it's a minus $1.45. Not a terrible price to get there, but we parlay not only that Pirates team total under, but Bryce Terang to get a hit plus $1.20 in that contest for sure.
If you have not gotten your G-Bank Visa signature card, do so today. Most credit cards are going to treat those sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances when you put your own money in the card, but not G-Bank. They're going to treat those gaming transactions as purchases. You're going to save 3 to 5% on cash advance fees on gaming transactions right then and there. Also with G-Bank, you get 1% cashback rewards on all of your eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions, 2% cash back on all eligible purchases. Apply now at VSiN.com/GBank. Gil Alexander's up next.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.